أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. All of us here know about the student debt crisis in the United States. All of us know, and all of us are either experiencing or soon going to experience the real impact of this crisis on all of our lives and all of our families. Today, in the United States, the student debt crisis is at $1.7 trillion. That's more than credit card debt, car loans. The only debt that outstrips student debt is home loans and home debt. 45 million Americans need to borrow money to send their kids to education. And out of those 45 million, the vast majority of them need to take out interest-bearing loans in order to pay for college and pay for their higher education. The average debt in America is now reaching $38,000, and every year it goes up by a few $1,000s, and it's only getting more and more expensive. Now with inflation, the cost of all institutions across the country are also increasing to match inflation costs, meaning that the tuition you all will have to pay is going to increase. This debt is impacting all of our lives. This debt is impacting our students who want to pursue college as well. It's delaying life milestones. Many young people that I know don't want to get married or delay getting married. Why? Because they have so much debt that they want to pay off before they start families. Many people, they don't want to have children because of this debt as well. It creates crisis in families. Many divorces are a result of financial problems that happen between the husband and the wife. And many Muslims are also dropping out of college because they can't afford the next month tuition and the next month the rent. As an ummah living in America, the collective impact is that our money, our collective money, is being sucked out of our community and being sent to banks and middlemen that are basically profiting from the fact that they're able to give out student loans. So what are we going to do about it? What is our solution? What can we do? Inshallah, today, my presentation, I'm going to introduce you to a continuous charity, answer some questions people might have. Then we're going to switch gears and talk about college preparedness and applications, how to get into colleges and what are colleges looking for. If we have time, which we might not because Isha comes very quickly, we'll then go into how to reduce your debt. We'll give 10 practical ways on how to reduce your debt, inshallah. First and foremost, all of us, as I mentioned in the khutbah yesterday, we want to be the nation of Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq. We want to be the nation of people who read, recite, people of the pen, people who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has taught what we did not know. And that is something we want to be a part of because that is what created our Islamic golden age, and we want to revitalize that today as well. But yet, how do we balance that pursuit along with the issue of the riba and the debt that's on there as well? Well, during the khutbah that I had mentioned yesterday, I talked about our story for a continuous charity. Alhamdulillah, as it were, 10 years ago, my good friend Dr. Attar Haq, he as an individual was a physician, come to the masjid, always try to pray in the first row, and when he would meet students who couldn't pay their next semester of tuition, or rent or for college, he, with his own money, would then loan these people money so that way they could go to school. This mashallah crazy. He had enough time to then call the students every month, be like, "Arey bhai, where's my money? Where's my money? I'm going to see you at the masjid. You better have my money," right? He'd call people up and remind them to pay him back. After a while, he realized there has to be a better way. There has to be a way that we can systemize this process. So he called me, and at that time, I was working with CARE. Alhamdulillah, I've worked with CARE for over 10 years as their executive director, which I'll talk about later. So I have a really good understanding of the legal background, understanding of contracts, and these type of laws. So I said, listen, let's create a nonprofit. We will raise money in the Muslim community. The Muslim community is generous. We'll create legally binding contracts. We'll get co-signers and others. Make sure that these contracts are legally valid in the US so that way students will pay back their loans. Alhamdulillah, 10 years ago, we started this charity, a continuous charity, Sadaqah Jariyah. That first year, alhamdulillah, we raised $60,000 and helped about 5 students. And of course, as I mentioned during the khutbah, many people around the country laughed at us after our first year. They said, $60,000, 5 students, that's not going to do anything, brother. You're just wasting your time. Alhamdulillah, now this year is our 10-year anniversary. This last June was the 10th year that we've been in operations, and our impact has been humongous. These numbers are a little bit outdated because we just gave out another round of student loans. But this year, we've now been able to help over 500 students all across the United States. We've been able to provide over $6.2 million in interest-free educational loans given to students so they could pursue their dreams of higher education, given to students so they could afford their next semester tuition. The loans we've given out to students, we have about $2.6 million or so that have been repaid to us. And of course, this last number is very important. As a community, as a collective, we've been able to save the Muslim community over $3.6 million in interest that the community would have paid if they would have just taken out conventional loans, which we don't want to do. A little about myself, alhamdulillah, I work with A Continuous Charity. I'm a co-founder of A Continuous Charity Foundation. For the last 10 years, I've been the director of CARE, the Council on American Islamic Relations in the state of Missouri, and I was the director of CARE here in the great state of Texas as well. Some of you might know me from my CARE work. Alhamdulillah, after 10 years, I decided to move on from CARE, and now I do nonprofit consulting. I get to work with a lot of charities, including A Continuous Charity, to help them grow, establish their connections, and really make the impact that they wish to make. At A Continuous Charity, our mission is very simple. It is to simply promote the spiritual and intellectual development of Muslims in America by providing interest-free loans for higher education. Our vision is by doing this, we hope to bring about a generation of graduates that will have a strong Muslim identity and be well-versed in their fields, using both for the benefit of mankind. What does that mean? What that means is we want to provide these interest-free loans to those students who are active in the Muslim community, who are part of our Muslim community, who we know in our communities as well. We want to be able to fund their education and make sure that they, because of the connection they have, that they're able to pay back their loans as well, inshallah. A Continuous Charity is one of the simplest ideas that exists. Many Muslims across the country, when we speak to them, they will tell us, we've had this idea before. I've always wanted to create this program. Well, alhamdulillah, we created it. You can, inshallah, join us as well. The idea is simple. All we're doing is we're vitalizing the prophetic waqf system. What we do is we go into the Muslim community, like here at the Islamic Center, Brushy Creek. We then come and say, brothers and sisters, we need the money. You have the money. I will take it from you, right? MashaAllah, tabarakallah. We're going to lock the doors for dinner. I was okay. But the idea is we go in the Muslim community, we raise money. We then put that money into a nationwide pool for educational loans. Students then apply for our loans. We then have a committee that determines which students receive the loans and the amount, and we give it not to the student, but the institution that owns their loans. Because if you give a bunch of college students $20,000, $30,000, God knows what they're going to do with it. So instead, we give it to the actual loan holder. As those students pay back their loans, we then put that money back into our National Educational Fund. That money is recycled again and again and again. That becomes a sadaqah jariyah, a continuous charity, and we are able to do this process over and over. Every year, the loan pile grows larger and larger because, well, the people who donated 10 years ago, their money is still being recycled. The people who donated 8 years ago, their money is being recycled. 5 years ago, 2 years ago, so on and so forth. In the next 10 years, we hope to, insha'Allah ta'ala, with the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, have a national educational fund of over $100 million. If we're able to raise $100 million all across the country, that will be, inshallah, I think, enough to really provide the vast majority of students who are qualified these loans. It's a very simple concept. We're not a bank. We're not making any profit off these loans. We're not rewriting contracts so that way you're technically halal. No, we're just raising money, giving it to students, those students pay it back, and then we recycle those funds. It's a very simple and easy concept, alhamdulillah. Many of you are probably wondering, well, how do I apply? I have a son, I have a daughter, they're smart, or at least I think they're smart. How can they apply for these loans? Well, it's very simple. You don't talk to brother Faizan. This isn't Pakistan, right? You don't talk to me like, brother, my beta, my son, he needs the help, right? I can't help you. What you do is we are an American-based organization. We work like a modern-day institution. You simply visit our website, acontinuouscharity.org, and from January the 1st till March the 31st, there is a public, readily available online forum and you can apply for one of these loans. There's no catch. You don't need to know a guy who knows a guy. Just go online, apply for our loans. When you apply for our loans, we look at 5 criteria, and those criteria are the following. Number 1, merit. Are you actually, number 1 is need. Do you actually financially need these loans? Or are you a doctor, your wife's a doctor, your parents are doctors, your brothers and sisters are doctors, even your cat and goldfish, everybody's mashallah, tabarakallah, doctors, right? Do you actually need the money? If the answer is yes, okay, let's move on. If you're very wealthy, you should be wealthy, you'll find other ways, inshallah. Number 2, merit. How well are you doing in your education? How well are you doing in schools? Are you getting decent grades? Are you getting good grades? Yes, great, move on. If you're not doing that well, you may not be as strong of a candidate. Number 3, this one makes us very unique. We look at your Islamic scholarship. Now that doesn't mean you have to be an imam, that doesn't mean you have to grow a beard that's 1 foot long, whatever it is. What that means is, do you take this religion seriously? Are you actively trying to learn Islam? Are you actively trying to be a better Muslim? If yes, then you pass this section and then you move on. Number 4, ilm is not enough. Ilm and amal are made out of the same 3 letters because you have to learn knowledge and then put it into action. We want to give the loans to students who are actively learning their religion, trying their best to be good Muslims, and they're involved in their community. Do you go to the masjid for halakas? Are you involved in the local MSA? Are you involved in volunteerism? If the answer to those are yes, you are going to, inshallah, get these loans. If the answer is no, I just showed up because 0 interest is better than 5.6% interest, well, it doesn't do that good. The 5th category is something that's very important for the ICBC community. We're a big believer in local funds for local people. I can't raise $100 million. I don't know anybody who can raise $100 million. You can't raise $100 million. But we can raise $100 million. What do I mean by that? ICBC Masjid, if let's say they raised a $10,000, $20,000, we will then use those funds to help students that, well, go to the Islamic Center in Brushy Creek. NAMCC, they raise $20,000, $30,000. It'll help those students, and again, the Austin area. We then go partner with massages, partner with Islamic schools, partner with Muslim organizations, partner with various groups. They raise the funds. They can also let us know which students need those funds and we need those supports. A continuous charity is a tool that'll get them in those contracts, make sure they pay back their loans, keep the paperwork, keep everything legal and halal. And then that way, every Muslim organization is now putting skin in the game, raising money locally to help their local students. The first year, you're not gonna raise that much. But if you do this 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years later, every masjid does it, every organization does it. Now you're raising enough funding to really help all students, right? That is our vision. That is where we want to take it, where the responsibility is on all of us here. The reality is, most of us are going to send our kids to college. Most of you are going to take on interest-bearing debt. Most of you are going to spend tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars paying off interest road-bearing loans. That's the fact of today. You are all individualistically divided, and that is how the shaitan, that is how the capitalist system takes advantage of us. If you're gonna go it alone, you're all gonna pay hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt. Yet Allah has given us the solution, and the solution is the brothers and sisters sitting next to you. If we pool our money together, if we work together and support one another, then we can raise enough funds to address this issue. Can we do it in the first year? No. Can we do it in the next 3 years, 5 years? No. This problem's been going on for the last 30 years. It's not going to be fixed within 1 or 2 years. You and I have to be like Ibrahim al-Islam, who built the Kaaba in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of a desert with his son Ishmael. And then Allah told him to do something kind of strange, which is stand up and invite people to the Kaaba. If you were alive at that time, you think this guy's crazy. What's he doing? Calling people to the Kaaba? Where are we? What? But now today, the Kaaba is the most visited site in the whole world. One day, a continuous charity will be an organization that's able to provide these loans for every single person that's out there, inshallah. Who do we give the loans to? Well, we give the loans to everybody. We give the loans to students who are undergraduate, basically starting college, freshmen, sophomore, juniors, seniors. We give it to graduate level programs, master's programs. We also give it to PhD level students, medical students. And the greatest one, the last one, is refinancing. Many Muslims already have gone to college. They have jobs. Inshallah, they have good paying jobs, but they have $50,000, $60,000 worth of debt. Well, those students, we will refinance their loan. All that means is we'll pay off all of their loan or part of the loan, because again, we're not a bank. We don't have infinite money. We can't go to the Federal Reserve, print out money and give it to you. We'll give you all of it or a portion of it, and then you just pay us back what you're paying off the bank. Our average loan amount is right now $20,000. Some students need a few $100s. Some students need $80,000. It all averages to about $20,000. And our average loan repayment is about 4 years. Again, we're still small. We're still starting. We cannot give you a 30-year loan. It's impractical. It's not possible for us to do it. Our goal ultimately is to change this individualistic, capitalistic mindset that all of the Muslims in America bought into, from how am I going to get my kids educated to how are we going to get our kids educated. If we are able to change that mindset, pool our resources together, give students these loans for those few years that they need it, over time, you will then see tremendous barakah put into the Muslim community. You'll see the Muslim community outpacing all other religious communities in America, because at first it's about economics. When the British, when the French, when these other colonial powers invaded Muslim lands, the first thing they did before they sent any armies was they went and attacked them economically. They went and deprived them of economic value, deprived them of their wealth, impoverished those nations, and then they invaded them after that happened. We need to reestablish our financial goals by simply pooling our funds together and making that impact happen, inshallah, and our goal is to get $100 million in the next 10 years. Inshallah, let me switch gears and give you guys some practical advice on college admissions and how to get into the best universities. Again, this is a very general introduction to it. We have amazing experts who are PhDs in this specific field. We have career counselors. If you want to do a Zoom meeting, if ICBC is interested in getting a group of college students together and doing a Zoom meeting with some of our PhDs, some of our career counselors, some of these counselors work at universities, admission departments, inshallah, we can get that set up. This presentation is going to be very general, and it's going to give you a lot of very helpful, practical information on college admissions, inshallah. First and foremost, if you guys like this presentation, if you want a copy of this presentation, take out your phones right now. Everybody's got a cell phone. Take out your phone right now and just scan that QR code. Just go ahead, scan that QR code. We're just going to collect your name, email, phone number. After this is done, I'm going to send you a copy of these slides, and I'll also send you my contact information. This is a great way, again, if you're looking for career counselors, if you want to ask a specific question, if you have questions about our application process, just fill that out. We're not going to sell your data. Nobody makes millions of dollars selling your information. We're just going to use it. I'll send you those slides. I'll send you my contact. And you can, inshallah ta'ala, reach out to me after it is done. Khair. Let's continue. I'm going to go through these fairly quickly just because our Isha Salah comes in about half an hour, so we don't want to take too much time. Number one, I want to start this presentation by first clearing some misconceptions that many people in the Muslim community have about higher education. Let me clear 5 misconceptions. The first one is there are many educational opportunities out there outside the traditional 4-year program. What I mean by that, there are many vocational schools, there are many trade schools. Some of the highest paying jobs right now are being plumbers or being these type of people and whatnot. As a community, this is considered really a taboo for us to do anything outside of that. Not all of our kids are smart enough to become doctors. Not all of our kids are smart enough to become engineers. And it is completely okay, and it should be more acceptable for them to pursue other degrees, other careers that can give them a technical job or a technical skill that they can really build on over time. My plumber makes a lot more money than I do doing what I do, and I had to go to school for God knows how many years to get my degree. It's not best for everybody, but those students who, again, aren't great at studying, aren't that type of person, let them go into these other fields. There's a lot of great careers, and many of these jobs actually will pay for your training and for your education, inshallah. Number 2, getting into most universities, getting into most colleges is not difficult. Let me say it again. Getting into most universities, getting into most colleges is not difficult. Don't overstress your kids and about trying to get into the colleges and stuff. Most of them are very easy. What's difficult is getting scholarships What's difficult is getting into elite programming, which I'll talk about later. What's difficult is getting into accelerated programs. That's what's difficult, and that's what I'm going to talk about today. But in general, getting into most universities is not that challenging. However, if you want to get good scholarships, good financial aid packages, you have to do a little bit, which I'll speak about. But for the average Muslim student, it's completely okay. You'll get into university. Don't freak out about that. Number 3, what does a good program mean? Many of us will say, oh, this university has a good program. That university has a good program. What a good program means is a university that allows you to accelerate or skip some hurdle that exists within that program. Let me give you an example of this. The University of Missouri, Kansas City. How many of us want our children to become doctors? MashaAllah, nobody. Allah Akbar. All right. If you want your child to become a doctor, you can send your kid into the University of Missouri, Kansas City. Now, getting to University of Missouri, Kansas City is easy. It is not difficult. But they have an accelerated medical program. That accelerated medical program is 6 years long. Meaning that when you get into that program, there's no summer vacation, no winter vacation. It's a trimester program. But after 6 years, you are now ready to start your residency and become a doctor. You don't have to take the MCAT. You don't have to study biotech, biochem, take the MCAT, get into medical school. You don't have to do all that. It's an accelerated program that gets done in 6 years. At Drake University, they have an accelerated program for pharmacy school, for example. So if you want to go into pharmacy, you go in that program, 6 years, no test, no nothing. After those 6 years, you're now basically a pharmacist. Same thing with law schools. Many universities, some universities have a program where if you go into that university and it has a law school, you do not have to take the LSAT exam. You can go to that university, automatically you're entered into the law school, so you have an accelerated program. That's what it means to get into a good program or a good system of some kind. Many students are confused. They don't really know what a good program is. They've heard from their friend, oh, this is a good university, or that's a good university, or this is a good program. But really, you want to see, does that program allow you to accelerate or get ahead or place you into a job afterward? That's what it means to be in a good program. Number 4, today, more and more employers are looking for experiences. Meaning that if you go to a mediocre university, quote unquote, and you take internships, you start getting jobs in the field that you're trying to go into. That means a lot more to an employer than going to a quote unquote prestigious university and being lower in that class rank. Number 5, this is important. It is perfectly acceptable for students to have no idea what they want to study in the future. It is perfectly acceptable for students to have no idea what they want to study in the future. Now, if you're like my father is Pakka Pakistani. It says Pakistani is Pakistani guest. You go to my house, it smells like Pakistan. Everybody speaks Urdu. I come home, they're like, beta, talk to your cousin. Assalamu alaikum, kaise ho yaar? You know, they're talking about Imran Khan all the time. It's PTV News, right? That's what my parents are. So my parents, when I was growing up, they're like, Faizan, you went to the America, you speak the English, you should know all of this. You should know all of this. You should know what you want to study. You should know what school you want to go to. You should know how you're going to pay for it. You should know because you grew up in the America. The reality is young people have no idea, not all. Some of them are very smart, very amazing, they know. Many people don't know. 75% of American students do not know what they want to study. And out of that, over 60% change their majors within the first 1 or 2 or 3 years. What does that mean? That means your kids who say, but Papa, I want to become the doctor, I want to become the engineer, I want to become whatever. Many of these students are saying that because you're scary, right? You'd never smile, you're very hard, so they will make stuff up. And what happens is that these students go to school, they go into whatever fields that their parents want them to go into. After 2 years, they change their majors. They're in undergrad for 5 years or 5.5 semesters. They spend a lot of money, go through a lot of stress, have mental breakdown. This is a major challenge that happens. And it happens because as adults, we don't have serious adult conversations with our children. And this is something that we need to really think about addressing, or else if you're not going to address it, you're going to pay for it. Really, literally, you're going to financially pay for it if you don't address these issues. I'll talk about some strategies to do so. Number 1, let's talk about university admissions, and I'll go through this again fairly quickly so I can leave it for some time. How do university admissions offices work? Well, a common misconception is that many universities admissions want one type of student. They want a leader who's involved in every sport, every club, every program, and is in charge of everything. That's sort of the common misconception that we have, that you have to do this, that you have to do 100 different things, and that's what universities are looking for. In reality, if you work in an admissions department, you are trying to create a class of people. You're trying to create a class of people. So you need students who are going to study IT and English. You need students who are going to play basketball and football, play the clarinet, play video games, and all of these type of things. You're trying to create a holistic class of individuals. So that means how many quarterbacks can a university have? 1, 2, 20? How many? 1 or 2, right? How many people can they have playing musical instruments? About 28, 35 or something, right? So the idea is, and the point I want to get across, is that as a student, you want to excel in those areas that you're very passionate about, be able to showcase that to the university, go deep into it, and if you're a unique individual that matches what this university is looking for, if you are the person that fits into that puzzle, you can get into a university that maybe normally you won't be able to get into. You could get into a higher ranking university or a comparative program that you normally wouldn't get in because you're now fulfilling a piece of the puzzle that they don't have, right? That's ultimately what I want to get into. They're looking for balancing their whole class. They don't just want 100 types of students. They're looking for smart students who are passionate about their interest, and they dive deep into those interests. Let me explain this a little bit more, inshallah. Qualities that universities are seeking in application, inshallah. Number 1, they're looking for, of course, academic excellence. They want to make sure you have good GPA records and scores. Beyond that, though, it's not only about your GPA, because many high schools have a 4.0, but they're also on 5.0 grade averages, meaning that you can take honors programs or AP programs that boost your grades above an A+ normally what you'd have. So if you have a good GPA, that's important, but also what's your class rank? There can be students that have 4.0, but their class rank is like 50, 60, 100 because you're basing it off a 5.0 scale. So you have to make sure that not only do you have a good GPA, but you're also taking honors classes, AP class, and other classes to get up there in those ranks. Today, there's a little bit of a change happening. In the old days, ACT, SAT, and these other standardized tests were king. Now those tests, many universities are making it optional and it's not as important, but it's still something that every student should take, especially if you're trying to get into university and apply for scholarships. One misconception that's out there is that the ACT, SAT does not measure how smart you are. It does not measure how smart you are. It measures how well you prepared for the ACT and the SAT. It is a test that measures your familiarity with the test. Meaning that if a smart person, a kid that has a 4.0 in class, took the ACT cold, they are not going to do well on that test. If that same student hires a tutor or goes to an online class and takes it again and again and again and becomes familiarized with the test, they will do better. Parents, if your kids are going to take the ACT, SAT, get them a tutor, get them involved in an online program, have them practice it again and again, because the more they've become familiar with it, the better they'll do. Period, full stop. That's how you should study for those tests. So again, number 1, they look for academic excellence. They want to see you doing well. If you're doing well, they want to see you increasing in that as well, inshallah. Number 2, they want to see you taking on a challenging coursework. What this means that if you got A's your freshman year in all of your regular classes, sophomore year, you don't want to just take regular classes. You want to start taking honor level classes. Junior year, you want to take honors and AP level classes. They want to see if you're doing well, that you're constantly challenging yourself, taking more difficult courses. Now, that doesn't mean you overwhelm yourself and take so many difficult courses, you become overwhelmed, and then you fail one semester. Try to find that balance. If you can do A's in all your classes or A's and B's, take more difficult classes, show that you're pushing it forward. In Austin, do we have international baccalaureate a lot? Is that common here? It is common, yeah. So again, international baccalaureates are another important area to go to. But again, show that you're taking more challenging coursework and build that as time goes on. Number 3, extracurricular activities. We want students to do extracurricular activities. You want your students to get involved in a club they're interested in, a sport they're interested in community service, in leadership, in research, in arts, whatever it is. However, what we don't want you to do is get involved in all of it, right? Don't get involved in all of it. I've seen many applications with the people that work with the Aiken charity. You'll see an application, it's like, oh, he was involved in art, this, and you realize, okay, how is that possible? Well, they just signed up for the class. They probably didn't really do anything. They probably didn't show up to the club, but at least their name is on it, and now they put it on their college application. University can see right through that. Instead, what a university wants you to do is get involved in those things that you're actually interested in, and every year get more involved and dive deeper into those sports and clubs. So your freshman year, you play soccer. Next year, you get more involved in soccer. The third year, you become the captain of your soccer team, so on and so forth. That's really what universities want to see. They want to see that level of involvement increase in depth, not just in the number of things that you're involved in. Number 4, essays and personal statements. Very important. If you want to get into prestigious programs, if you want to get into the actual good programs that are out there, you're going to have to write an essay. You're going to have to write a personal statement. An essay and a personal statement, by its sound, is about you, the student. Many students come to me like, brother, how do I write a great essay? Well, you need to explain to the person on the other end who you are. You don't want to write an essay thinking, oh, what do they want me to be? Oh, they want me to be a leader and they want me to be da-da-da-da-da. No. Again, they're trying to create a holistic class. They want people who play video games and are nerds, and they want people who play sports. They want people who are in IT, and they want people who are in English. They want to know about who you are and express your personal statement. Me, when I was growing up, my father does construction work, and construction work is obviously not very glamorous. I would have to help him do construction work in order to pay for our family and our house as well. In my college application, when I applied for Drake University, which is a private institution, I put, because of our situation, I did construction work. It taught me the importance of time, the importance of time management, how to write invoices, how to build homes. I put that in there. I've made a personal statement, and the person on the other end absolutely loved it. Right? Because they saw, oh, here's this one construction worker kid, son of an immigrant Muslim kid. He fills our puzzle piece. You see what I'm trying to say? So be honest about who you are. What are your interests? And really put that out there. Make sure it's about you. And of course, feel free to use modern day tools like ChatGPT and others. Amazing tools are out there. What I recommend is you write your personal statement, bullet point, things that you want the university to know, put into ChatGPT, and it's going to write a really good statement for you, and then review it and revise it. Really easy way to make it happen. Number 5, letters of recommendation. Letters of recommendation cannot be overemphasized. Your teacher in high school is going to write your letter of recommendation. Your counselor is going to write your letter of recommendation. 90+% of the letters of recommendation are teachers and counselors. That's not interesting. What's interesting, though, is if you're interested in medicine, if you're interested in IT, if you're interested in engineering, find a clinic to shadow. Find a place to intern and volunteer. Find a place to work. Build relationships with the people who work in these fields on a regular basis. And over time, get them to write your letter of recommendation. It is much more meaningful for a student who's trying to get into medical school to get a letter from a physician in their community who's been a doctor for 35 years versus their English teacher. Do you see the difference? It is something that cannot be done randomly. You have to actively try to build that relationship, but that's something that you really want to do, especially if you're trying to get into these more competitive programs that are out there. Get letters of recommendation from people who are in the real world. If you're in IT or robotics, whatever it is, find people in that field. MashaAllah, our community has amazing individuals who are in these different fields. Get them to write you a letter. It's going to make a world of a difference, inshallah. Number 6, we are talking about standardized tests. Hire somebody, study the test, and you'll do better, inshallah, with that. Number 7, demonstrate your passion and special interest. Again, they want to know about who you are, and they want to be able to see that you can showcase your talent and your special interest. Number 8, diversity and inclusion is still very popular. Being Muslim, being an immigrant, first generation or second generation, is still very positive and powerful, and it really helps get you guys into these different campuses and the different universities. Number 9, the interview process. In the most prestigious university, the most prestigious programs, your son or daughter will have to go into an actual interview. Now, your son and daughter might never have done an interview in their life. They're going to be totally freaked out about it, and they're not going to do a very good job, right? Because they haven't been in an interview process. They've never had to actually talk to an adult one-on-one. So in order to get them ready, you need to prepare them to be in that interview, or else they're going to stutter. I've been in my fair share of hundreds of bad interviews of very smart kids. On paper, they're very smart, but they don't really have the social skills to talk to you and present themselves. Interviews are an extremely important way for university to learn about students and something that you can prep your kids on by showcasing their personality, their communication skills, by having them do mock interviews with yourself or with a continuous charity and others. Planning by the year. So what should you do your freshman year, sophomore year, junior year, and senior year of college? High school, let's talk about that. Simply put, freshman year should be focused on academics. Freshman year should be focused on academics, get good grades, and explore extracurricular activities. Get a job, join a bunch of clubs, do all of that. Really have fun your freshman year and focus on education, and focus on your grades and make sure they're good. Your sophomore year, you want to maintain your grades. If you did well your freshman year, if you got A's and B's, start taking a few honor courses, take at least one AP course, start bringing it in. Don't completely take only honors and APs, but start introducing that into your program. Number 2, don't be involved in every club and program out there. Once you do a year of clubs and your mom and dad push you into joining a bunch of clubs, choose those clubs, choose the program that you're actually interested in, that you're actually passionate about, and be more involved and go in depth into those clubs. Sophomore year is also when you want to begin test preparation. You want to start preparing yourself for the SAT, ACT, and other programs, and start preparing for that your sophomore year. Junior year is the most important year because senior year is when you're going to start applying for colleges and you're going to start sending out applications. Second semester of senior year is when you're going to start receiving letters, so you can't do it your senior year. Junior year is the most important. This is when high school students really have to work the hardest. Select the most rigorous set of courses you can that you're able to manage without overburdening yourself. Focus on standardized testing. Take those exams, get a tutor, whatever it is. Focus on the standardized testing. Start finding people who can write you letters of recommendation based on whatever it is you want to go into the future. Whether it's medicine, IT, whatever it is. Find those people, clinic, work with them, shadow them, whatever it is. Get those letters, especially your junior year. You need them by the summer of your junior year. That's when you want to get it. Number 5, pursue leadership in the interest. So now you had a lot of interest. Sophomore year, you're getting a few. This year, you want to try to become a leader in that. Meaning, if you have part of a club, become the president, vice president, be part of the board of that club. Junior year is the hardest year. After junior year, you can actually, I don't want to say slack, but you can kind of calm it down your senior year a little bit. The summer before your senior year, that is when you want to sit down with your parents and develop a college list. Realistically, where do you want to go to college? Are you comfortable letting your kids leave Austin, go somewhere else, or do you want them to stay here? Start volunteering and interning your summer year, get those letters of recommendation, and prepare for the application essays. Application essays are typically started the first semester of your senior year. Senior year. So senior year, that's when you want to just graduate. Finalize your coursework and make sure you actually graduate on time. Complete your college applications, and now college applications are so easy. When I was growing up, college applications were terrible. You had to write on paper and mail it to people. Now you have it online. You have the Common App and other apps. You do your college application online, upload everything on your application, and send it to the university you want to get to. This is also when you want to start applying for scholarships and financial aid. I'll talk about that in another slide, areas you can find a lot of this stuff. Prepare for interviews if you're going to those prestigious universities and programs. And then this is the hard part, evaluate offers and make a decision. Evaluate offers and make a decision with your parents and with your family. What I mean by this is, for students especially, and parents, at a certain point, young people need to grow up. And what I mean by growing up is you have to have an honest conversation with your parents. What can we afford? How much can my parents give? How much can I provide? Can I go somewhere else, or do you want me to stay here? What should I study? Do I actually want to become a doctor and go into medical program? Or am I just saying that to make you happy? These difficult conversations need to happen at this stage. If not, your kids are going to go to school. Universities are not that hard to get into. They're going to study whatever they're going to study. And many kids are going to change their degrees and change their coursework after they get into it. One of the things I recommend for this also is your senior year, sit down with your parents, have an honest conversation, and then get that done. Let's talk about riba-free college education, and then I'll be done, inshallah, with this presentation. The first thing I want us to do is actually understanding debt. This is a calculator that I want everybody here to start using with their kids. It's called the Smart Asset calculator, the smart asset calculator. Let's go ahead and open it, and I'll just show this demonstration for 2 minutes so you guys can all see it. So you guys can just Google smart asset calculator, right there, bam. Let's open it up. This is something that you want to sit down with your kids and talk about as you're going through it, right? So, where is it? Oh, that's not it. Smart asset calculator. Oh, it's 2 words. Free income calculator, federal income. It is this one, yeah. That's weird. No, it's giving me the wrong website. I don't know why it's giving me that website. All right, I'm just going to skip it for now. Wait, no, let me see if I can find it. Student loan. Ah, there we go. There we go. Sorry about that, everybody. All right. So this is an important calculator because what it does, you can type in your interest rates, you can type in the amount that they're going to loan, the repayment, and they'll actually tell you, give you a number for that. So for example, let's do undergraduate. Let's say your student takes out $38,000 worth of debt. All right, the average interest rate right now is 5.25%. It's a little bit more, but either way, and the average repayment is about 20 years. So if you take out this much debt at this interest rate over 20 years, then your lifetime loan is going to be $61,000. Is what you're going to end up paying back after 20 years. Let's pause for a second and think about that. You're almost paying back almost double of what you took out in your first loan. If you increase that to master's program is $44,000 to $57,000. Let's just put $44,000 just for the sake of this demonstration. So if you take out $44,000 worth of debt, you're going to end up paying back $71,158 over 20 years. That means your kids are going to be married, have a job, have a house, have kids, all that, and they're still going to be paying off their student debt. If you're going to graduate school or medical school, let's just do the lower amount, $131,000, right? You're going to be paying back $211,000 over 20 years. This is a really great tool that you should sit down with your kids, put in these numbers, and have them understand what debt actually means, these numbers actually are. Many young people are afraid of these numbers. They're afraid of even thinking about it. They have a natural trepidation over it. As parents, as adults, you need to sit down with your child, make sure they understand the life choices that they're making, especially because they're still kids. They should understand it. Now, these interest rates change, the loan repayment can change. You can add it all in, but this is an important tool that all of us should use, especially within our families as well. Let me go through these slides fairly quickly so we can end, and I'll open up for questions. I want to give you 10 practical ways on how you can reduce your college debt, and then we'll be done. 10 practical ways on how you can reduce your college debt. Before I get into it, of course, not all of this advice is going to be practical for everybody. Again, if you got into the UMKC medical program, debt is no longer something you should worry about because you're in that program, you'll become a doctor at the end of it, inshallah, go through it, right? But I'm saying in general, this is general advice that works for many students, though it may not work for all students. Number 1, do dual enrollment. Dual enrollment. Many high schools, especially in Texas, they allow you to start taking community colleges programs while you're in high school or taking online courses as well. The way college works is you have to get a certain number of credit hours to graduate. Let's keep it simple. Let's say you need 100 hours to graduate a typical 4-year program. If in undergrad, you can take 20 credit hours, 30 credit hours at a much more reduced rate, then that means you can graduate a semester early or even a year early, overall reducing your debt. Beyond that, though, it also will help you become college prepared and become college ready because you're now taking college level courses while still in high school programs. Number 2, consider community college. I know this is a dirty word in our community. Yes, if you're that type of student, you're smart and you're robust, you know exactly what you want to do, go into your college, do what you want to do. For many students, though, if you don't know, if you're not sure, do community college. It's much more inexpensive. Any community college you go into, they have partnership with traditional 4-year universities. You can speak to that community college, and they'll say, our credits transfer to these universities, to these programs. So if you can map out your college experience, you can go to community college, take these courses, to get the credits out of the way, be prepared in that transition, and then when you go into college, paying those higher amounts, you can do it within 2 years or less, inshallah. I think as a community, we really have to challenge the stigma that's around community college. It is a very good financial option that works well for a lot of students. Number 3, for God's sakes, live at home. Do not live on college campus. Do not buy the nonsense that's pushed on media and on movies that you get the college experience if you live at universities. Yes, you get a little bit of college experience, but the amount of money you pay to live on college campus is dramatically higher than if you actually rented out an apartment and shared that apartment with roommates. And it's much higher than if you live at home. I know mommy and baba sometimes get annoying for some young people. They're like, I want to be free from these people. I get that. You can be free for them for a few years, but then you're going to be in 20 years of debt. And what's worse, right? Live at home. Mommy and baba are great. It will dramatically save you money. And staying in-state, going to an in-state program is a really good, viable option. Yes, there are amazing programs nationally for specific programs if you have to go do that. But it makes a lot of sense to stay. Also, you can avoid fitna. The university that I went to, Drake University, the building I lived in was a co-ed building on each floor. Meaning that not second floor and third floor for guys and first floor is for girls. No, first floor, second floor, third floor, fourth floor are for guys and girls. Literally, the building I was in, the first 6 apartments were for men, the other 12 apartments were for women. Does that seem like a very halal-friendly environment? Definitely not. So let's try to avoid that, inshallah. Number 4, do not get a meal plan at a university. Meal plans at universities are exorbitantly high. They're designed to make the university money. They are scamming you out of money. Do not get their program. The average meal plan in America costs $660 a month. If you do that for 4 years, you're paying $23,000 just in food. The average American is in debt $38,000. That is a terrible program to get into. If you eat at home and you cook at home and you buy your own groceries, over 4 years you're going to spend about $9,545 on average. That is much less than $23,000. And if Ammi, Abu make your food, mashallah, tabarakallah, even better. Again, every dollar you take, you're going to pay back almost $2 after you pay it back after 20 years. So this $23,000 is actually more like $47,000 once you pay it back through these loans that you take out. Number 5, avoid buying new textbooks. Simple tool, don't buy new textbooks. This is a total scam. The 26th edition is the exact same as the 25th, 24th, 23rd edition. They're all the same. These are big scams they do. Rent your textbooks, get digital textbooks, borrow it from friends, do these examples, and this will make a major impact. Now they have online marketplace swapping, which is amazing. You don't even buy a textbook. You're just like, I've got this textbook, that guy's got that textbook. You swap it. Very easy to do. Save you $1,000 a year on textbooks. Number 6, get a job. Get a job. Most college programs are not that rigorous that you cannot work. Some are. Some are very rigorous. Working is not a good idea. Most are not. Getting a job will help you dramatically reduce your debt. Let me give you some example. When I was in high school, I used to work at McDonald's. Let's not argue whether it's halal or not. Okay, put that to the side. I used to work at McDonald's. Today, McDonald's pays an average employee $12 an hour. $12 an hour. If you just work Saturday and Sunday, 8 hours, 8 in the morning to 4 o'clock. Is 4 o'clock late? 4 o'clock in the afternoon, that late? No, that's nothing. Work Saturday and Sunday, 8 hours a day, 2 days a week. After 4 years, you're gonna make $39,000, almost $40,000 worth of debt. How much is the average student loan? $38,000. So just by having a job at McDonald's or someplace, I'm sure you can all find better jobs. I'm just using this as an example. You can then get money that can dramatically offset the cost of your loans. Stay at home, eat at home, get a job. It's going to dramatically reduce your college debt, especially for undergraduate programs. Also, you get spending cash. You get to put on your college application, learn skills, and you learn time management. Number 7, applying for scholarships. This is a list of websites. People always ask me, brother, where do I find scholarships? How do I find scholarships? Where are the scholarships? Here's the several websites. Never pay a website for scholarships and find scholarships. You have FastWeb, Big Future, Scholarship.com, Community Foundations, and Aggregate, and others. These are websites you can go onto and you can find dozens of different opportunities are out there. Now, most students and most scholarships never get applied for, and most students never apply for scholarships. Why? Because they're afraid. They're frightened to apply for scholarships. It is a big burden for them to do so. The students who do apply for scholarships because they have a mom and dad who's on their back and they're gonna help them do it. You wanna be that mom and dad. The hardest scholarship to apply for is your first scholarship. Every scholarship application, at the end of the day, is very similar. They're gonna ask for your basic information, you're gonna ask for your high school transcript, they're gonna ask for extracurricular activity, they're gonna ask for this basic stuff, letter of recommendation, a personal statement. If you've done one, you can then just recycle that one again and again, changing a few things here and there, and you should apply for a lot of scholarships. Because again, you might just get a scholarship because nobody else applied for that scholarship. Earlier I said you want to find a few things you're interested in and go deeper in those things. Why? Because those things that you're interested in, there are scholarships that are out there for those specific areas. Public speaking, debating, robotics, I don't know, STEM, whatever it is. So you want to build that your freshman, sophomore, and especially your junior year. So the summer of your junior year and beginning of senior year, you can go to these websites, look for scholarships based on the thing that you're interested in, and find those scholarships, right? You guys understand what I'm trying to say? In addition to that, you also want to do a few other things. Number one, talk to your college financial aid office. Many of us, kids especially, they will never call anybody. But parents, don't be afraid to call financial aid offices. Tell them, hey, listen, this is my family situation. My son or daughter is going here. What do you recommend? Where should I look for scholarships? They'll tell you. This is not Pakistan. This is not the Middle East where everybody's trying to hide the information and nobody can tell you what's going on. These people actually want to tell you information. One of the best things you can do is try to get a meeting or try to get a phone call or try to get an email communication or a chat with your financial aid offices, and they will give you advice on how to pay for colleges and afford these different areas. Another one, community foundations. Every city in America has a community's foundations. These are foundations that basically many businesses and wealthy people give money to. And if you get involved in community foundations, individuals, if you have a good story especially, you can find individuals that will basically give you scholarship for these loans as well. It takes work to do this, but again, it takes more work to get a job, make a salary, and pay off your debt. So if you do this early on, you can reduce your debt and not have to work later on. I would recommend spending at least 2 to 4 hours a week. Again, just 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock. Parents, turn off the TV, get your kids off the devices, sit with them once a week, twice a week, and just look at it. The more you do it, the more familiar with it you'll become. Once you get your children to get scholarships, all your relatives are gonna hit you up. The community's gonna start hitting you up. You can start becoming a resource within the community as well. 2 more, then we'll end. Graduate on time or early. Graduate on time or early. Do not stay at a university 1 minute more than you have to stay at that university. If you can graduate a semester early, a year early, graduate early. Get done with it. Most universities, when you pay tuition, you're paying for a certain number of credit hours per semester, typically 12 to 18, though different universities change it. What does that mean? That means your son and daughter or you can choose to take 12 credit hours every semester. If you take 12 credit hours every semester, it's gonna take you longer to graduate. If you take the maximum number of credit hours, which is 18, again, that's more coursework. You have to make sure you can do it. But that means if you're taking 18 every semester, you can probably graduate a semester early or maybe even a year early. Obviously, you have to take dual credits beforehand. That's what I mean. So you're paying for these credit hours anyway. Take advantage of what you're paying for. Do not delay in your graduation at all. Number 9, do not take unnecessary loans. Young people don't understand the difference between $10,000 and $15,000. They really don't. So some people have this mindset, let me just take more just to be safe, just to be on the safe side. No, take the least amount of loans as humanly possible. Be cautious of loans. Look at the interest rate on the loan. If you have to take out a loan, get the loan that's got the least amount of interest rates, especially federal loans. Don't take out private loans. That's gonna make a big impact. Do not use your loans for living expenses, rent expenses, or things like that. If you're using it for living expenses, your rent is, let's say $800, you're basically paying $1,600, double the amount because you're taking out a loan for that. Last but not least, this is important for all of us. All of us, we have to be brave and talk to our kids about college, be realistic in what they can pursue. Students have to be brave enough to talk to their parents and say, listen, dad and mom, this is what I can actually do. This is what I'm actually interested in. Don't make this a taboo topic. Have an honest conversation. Now again, if you're like my dad, who's Pakka Pakistani, my dad never talked to me until I got married and had kids. That's when he started talking to me, right? If my dad would have said, beta, come here, let's sit down and talk, either I'm in trouble or somebody died in Pakistan. Those are the two things that are happening. Don't be that parent. Have an honest, frank conversation with your kids. Treat your children like adults. Have them come and have these serious conversations about your finances. It's not easy. It's awkward. It's difficult. But doing it will save your family decades, literally decades of extra work that they'll have to do just to pay off the debt. Inshallah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless all of us. Really, let's think about higher education, get our kids educated, reduce our college debt, be brave enough to have these conversations, and together we are able to get our kids educated and make that impact. With that, I want to say assalamu alaikum, jazakallah khair for your time. Inshallah khair, we'll open up for questions and answers. What time is Isha here? 10? Okay, khair, so we have a little bit of time. Are there any questions and comments that people might have? Please send to me. Also, if there's any brothers, I have a lot of my material out there in the lobby. If anybody's able to grab it, maybe pass it out, or make sure before you leave, grab some. So if somebody can take it and pass out to everybody, that'd be great. And make sure to not leave without taking some of that material with you, inshallah. Yes?
Assalamu alaikum, brother. Thank you so much for the presentation. This has been very helpful for the people, their young kids who is going to go to college, alhamdulillah. I have a question for you. What would be a max amount of loan that you would provide? You said it's $20,000 is the average, but what would be the loan amount that you allow for a max if somebody is going to med school, for example?
That's a great question. So what's the maximum amount of loan that we provide? What we do is we get into one-on-one conversation with students, and then we try to look at our budget, and then we determine that amount. So the max loan I think we provided for a medical student is $80,000 so far. We've sometimes had wealthy people in the community. So let's say that the medical student, he needs $120,000. We don't have that money. But what I do have are telephone numbers of doctors. I'm like, assalamu alaikum, hi, yes, I need money. What do you mean, why? I need money for the students, right? So what we do is we fundraise for students, we connect students to donors, and then the donors give to a continuous charity. We loan to a student, the student pays us back, and we recycle their money. So sometimes, even if it's a high amount, we're able to sometimes fundraise for that or get people in the community to then help that student as well. Most donors will not give money to an individual, but they will give it to a nonprofit with a system that makes sure that they get their funding paid back. I hope that helps answer the question.
Yes, absolutely, brother. Last question is, what kind of defaulters you have in this program? Does everybody pay off? Or some don't, some do? What's the percent?
MashaAllah. A great question about default rates. So at Aiken's Charity, we're very blessed. We have a 98% repayment of our loans, which is much higher than Wells Fargo, Chase Bank, Bank of America, or any other banks. How do we have such a high rate? Well, number one, we get into legally binding contracts. We do all of that. In addition, we give loans as sadaqah, meaning that if a student loses a job or they get sick and they're unable to make their loans, we don't take their house and things like that, right? We'll work with the student. We lower their rate until they get back on their feet. And then when they get back on their feet, they make higher payments. Because of that one-on-one connection, because of that Islamic connection, students understand that there's a responsibility and they're more likely to pay us back as well with that. The third component is we only loan students who are active in the Muslim community, who are known, right? So we're giving these loans primarily to students who are in the masjid, who know the community, who are involved in their youth program, whatever it is. So because they're active, they're more inclined to pay back their loans. That's why we have such a high percentage rate of repayment, which is at about 98%. Some students, though, because loans are a type of sadaqah and we do collect zakat donation, we don't want zakat donation. Do not give us your zakat donation. Keep it, just give us sadaqah. But sometimes, we get a check and it says zakat on it. Okay, well, what do we do in that situation? Some students get into a situation where they can never pay back their loans. We've had a few students, one of them, may Allah help this person, he got into a serious car accident. He's now disabled from the neck down. He can't move and he'll be like that for the rest of his life. So that student who's clearly unable to make their loan repayment, what we do is then we will then forgive that person's loan in those very severe situations and circumstances. So that's, alhamdulillah, how we do our loan repayment and making sure we don't have defaults. Yes. Of course, Jazakallah khair. Of course.
Couple of questions. The first one is, you said there are some counselors or counseling sessions. So how do we get in touch with them?
Inshallah, you know Brother Mohsin, where's Mohsin Bhai? MashaAllah, there he is. So Mohsin Bhai knows me. MashaAllah, you have to know a guy who knows a guy. We can do virtual programs. So AE Contains Charity, we have PhDs, we have people work at universities in their mission departments. We can do an online session with college students and they can give counseling advice or career advice directly to those people as well. We also do workshops for parents on how parents can be supporters of students. So we do these trainings. Most of those are done digitally though. So you can just set those up with myself and then we'll choose a time and date and we'll make it happen, inshallah.
Okay, the second question is, how do we get hold of this presentation?
Oh, did you? All right, if you want the presentation, I had this slide right here. No, not that one. Where is it here? Just scan this QR code, inshallah. There, this one. Just scan this QR code. It'll ask you for your name, email, telephone number. We will email out this presentation to everybody here. I'll also send a copy to Brother Mohsin. Inshallah, you can put on WhatsApp and other groups. And they're recording today's session, so you guys can share that link as well, inshallah. Wa alaikum. Thank you so much. Amazing question. Is there a fixed term amount? Like how long do we do for the students to pay back? So each of our students is a little bit different. One of the things we pride ourselves on is everybody who gets our loan, there's a one-on-one consultation with them. So in those consultations, we then determine their loan repayment term. So if you're a freshman going to college, we're realistically not going to get your loan paid back for at least another 5, 6+ years, right? If you're refinancing your loan, if somebody has a job, then we can accept to be paid back sooner. Our average loan repayment is about, I think, 4 years long. And again, some are a lot longer, some are a lot shorter. Some students just take out $5,000 and they pay back within like 6 months. So on average, it's about 4 years and the average loan amount is $20,000. But again, we work with the student to determine that amount. Even when a student is a freshman in a college, they'll start repaying their loans right away. What I mean by that is that they'll start repaying their loan maybe $15 a month. $20 a month, so they can get in the habit of paying back their loans, because everybody can afford $15, $20 a month, it's not too much money. And then once they graduate, once they get a job, then the dollar amount increases based on their economic situation. I hope that helps. Yes?
Assalamu alaikum.
Welcome, Sam.
What is your operating cost, per year?
Great question. So right now our operating cost is a little bit high this year specifically because we're doing a strategy of hiring more staff and expanding it out. So right now we're about 16%, almost 17% of our operational costs. From day one, A Continuous Charity created what's called an endowment. An endowment, we use Amana mutual funds. So basically every time we get donations, we put that into like stocks, into properties that generate revenue. Ultimately, our goal is the revenue that generate, it offsets the loss of money through inflation, but also helps offset the cost of our staff and our operation and things like that. Ultimately, our goal is to have our endowment get up to $10 million. Once it gets to $10 million, the entire operation will be working completely by the endowment. We will have zero expenses. And at that point, anybody who donates any amount is going to go directly into loans. Right now, we still have these operational costs. And as you can imagine, 10 years is not that long. We're still a startup. And ultimately, that's our goal, to be completely endowment run, and then to have any dollar that comes in go directly to these loans, inshallah.
Jazakallah.
Welcome. Thank you so much. Yes? Yes?
Is it related to anything, essay reviews, or what kind of counseling these students provide?
So we have a host of different workshops that we do. We do resume building workshops. We do college application workshops. We have professional career counselors. So if you want to go into like medicine, for example, you live in Austin, A career counselor will be able to tell you what are the best programs, what are the best areas to apply, how to get in, things like that. So these are the type of experts that we have. I have a great thing on our website that a masjid can go through our list of different workshops. They can choose a workshop that would work best for their community, and then they can book that through a continuous charity. Of course, we want to be good stewards of our funding. So anytime we do a workshop like that, we ask the masjid to offset the cost. So, we bring in a career counselor, and we ask the masjid to pay a few $100s to cover that cost, and then that way we can bring the workshop at no cost to us, inshallah. So again, so it's a host of things. So we also do like scholarship workshops, so how to apply for scholarships, actually doing that with the students, and a host of other things as well.
Is there any specific organization or concerns that you work with? Like who does this career counseling for the essay writing or essay reviews?
Yeah, no, mashallah, that's a great question. Alhamdulillah, as you can imagine, as I travel around the country, I meet amazing people. So we have counselors from all over the country. We have people who are in missions in different areas. We have professionals who do, resume building or scholarships or things like that. So we have a good list of experts who are available, and they can be booked for different workshops or programs at the masjid, inshallah.
One last question, brother. So these loans that when you guys are sponsoring these loans, do they have like additional fees attached, or like for example, you're giving $20,000, when you return back, is it $25,000 or $22,000? There is any fees associated with it?
That's an amazing question. So the question is, are there fees? Are there late fees? Are there things like that? Alhamdulillah, with a continuous charity from day one, we have no fees. We have no additions, we have no increase in nothing. So if you take out $20,000 worth of loans, you will pay back $20,000. We, unlike if you buy homes and you work with like Islamic home financiers, those are for-profit companies, right? So they give you an Islamic loan, but they make profit off of it. We don't have that. And the way we don't have it because we're a nonprofit. I just came to ICBC. I'm like, brother Mohsen Bhai, give me $10,000. He gives me $10,000. What do I have to do to get that money? Nothing, right? So because we're a nonprofit, that's how we're able to operate in this way. And we don't make any money, any profit off of any of our loans. What you take is exactly what your payback. Here. I think we're at 9:46. I'll answer 2 more questions, and I think at 9:50 we can pause.
I'm wondering if the sisters have any questions.
Oh yeah, sisters, inshallah, if you have any questions, let us know, and I'll be more than happy to answer them. I don't know, is there a microphone up there? Or?
I'm not sure if they have microphone.
If not, you can yell it out. I can hear you probably.
They can send a text to Brother Mohsen.
MashaAllah, you know that guy's number? Everybody knows his number?
While we are waiting for that, I have a quick question. So with 16% fees, I know a lot of people don't even entertain 1 to 2%. How do you sell that to people who are trying to donate? And 16% is pretty high.
Right. So at the end of the day, the average charity in America is more like an 18 or 20 and plus percentage. I know in the Muslim community, we have a completely, what I believe is an unrealistic, completely debauched understanding of nonprofit. If you expect to have a charity that makes real major impact and it's only gonna have a 1 or 2% operating cost, then that means you're only using volunteers. And that means that you're gonna have a lot of internal problems within that charity. And I've seen this happen, because I do nonprofit consulting. I see it happen a lot in the community as well. Where we're at, 16%, 18%, is actually something that, alhamdulillah, isn't too bad. Over time, from the day one we have an endowment, we're gonna get lower. But at the end of the day, you have to start from somewhere, right? And inshallah, as time goes on, we'll be able to resolve those financial challenges that we have. But definitely, I'm not a big believer in doing only volunteer work, and we want to make sure we have it for others as well. Yes. Oh yeah, Brother Mohsen Bhai. Oh, well, I'm not going to recommend any one because, mashallah, by and large, all of them are good.
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah. So the question is, what SAT or ACT prep course do I recommend? I'm not going to recommend any specific one because, honestly speaking, today with the way technology is, mostly all of them are good, right? So if you find an SAT or ACT score and it has reviews online and you get positive reviews, sign up for it. If there's local people in your community that are able to do SAT, ACT prep courses, like after-school program, they're from a well-established organization, sign your kids up for that. Again, these tests measure familiarity. The more you do that test, the more you understand, okay, this section, this is the ways to do it. That section, that's the way to do it. This is how you resolve these questions. Your kids will do better, and they'll have a huge impact on college applications. So again, there's a lot of great work out there. I personally won't recommend any just because I haven't really seen that many. There aren't, for lack of a better word, there are not a lot of scams out there that are trying to take advantage of ACT, SAT work. If you go to Google and whatnot, look at it, you'll find a lot of good stuff that's out there, and look at the reviews, and you'll find some that are really good, inshallah. Yes, brother.
Yeah, so, Assalamualaikum. So you mentioned an endowment fund, and in the interest of getting to your lofty ambitions of 100 million and all that, do you see yourself being open to investment opportunities, or are you planning? Yeah, for the most part. And then my follow-up question is just the way your business model, or your model works. Is the charity going to be eternally dependent on donations? Yeah, so what I'm talking about investment opportunities is basically something similar to Amin Housing, right? Where both, there is opportunities on both sides, where people are trying to get homes, they can apply and get their homes, but there's also, I mean, it's not much, the ROI, but that does help them scale a lot better.
So that's a great question. So the brother's asking about, would we in the future ever think about investment models? Right now, we're not looking at that for the loans per se. However, we did do that for part of our endowment. So part of our endowment is that we bought properties across the United States. So that we found investors, they pooled their money together, bought a property, and then once the property is flipped and sold, all the investors get a portion of that sale. And then a continuous charity gets a portion of that as well based on how much money is put in. So those type of investments for endowment work, we'd be open to. But getting investment specifically for the loans, I don't think that's something we'd be doing. Yeah. Endowment, yes, endowment for sure. Endowment, 100% for sure, we'll do it. We have a great group of brothers who are real estate experts all across the country. They do it, and also in other areas. So if you know anybody, please connect me with them. I'd love to speak to them. The second component is a continuous charity always going to be donation-led? At a certain level, it will be, in the sense that any donation we get, we're able to help more students. But once we really get our endowment to about 10 million and our operation costs are at zero, what happens, I think we'll see a really good feedback loop, which is that the funds that are being loaned out are being paid back to us. Many of the students who take out our loans, they become grateful to a continuous charity, they become lifelong donors to a continuous charity, and then they grow up and they get good jobs and careers. So I don't think the charity will become completely donor dependent, but even if we had $100 million, you could always need more because the Muslim population is probably going to grow as well. So I don't know, I hope that helps give some insight into those questions, inshallah. Brothers, I think, and brothers and sisters, we're at 9:52.
Last comment, brother. This has been great presentation. And how can ICBC help you?
MashaAllah, how can ICBC help us, inshallah? A few things that ICBC could do, and all of you could do. Invite us back. Let us come. We'd love to do more workshops and programs here. Other than that, ICBC and all of you here, please consider donating and supporting Muslim students. Our average student loan is $20,000. So you guys can kind of mat that out. I would recommend this institution, this community, create an educational fund with a continuous charity. With an educational fund, if you put in $10,000 and more, you can have a fund. It can be used to fund students who go to this community. You can let us know which students you want these loans to go to, and you can give it to that. Ultimately, this is a number game. We can only loan students based on the amount of income that we have. So if you're the type of person that believes in education, if you're the type of person that wants to leave your legacy to educate the next generation of Muslim students and get our community educated, please visit us at the table outside, make your donation, contribute. The masjid should contribute as well, open up a legacy fund, inshallah, and together we can make that difference, inshallah. With that, jazakallah khair and assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.